All right, so uh, welcome to the presentation. I'm Jack. I'm a junior from Sage Hill, and that's David. He is a 12th grader from Portola. So we're just two high school students who worked on this project with Dr. Sun from Polytechnic University. So our project centers on this idea that earthquakes right now are dangerous. There's obviously, you all obviously know that. And for our presentation, we focus on earthquakes and just earthquake disaster training. I believe most people are familiar with the 1908 San Francisco earthquake. That earthquake is hugely detrimental and killed like more than 3,000 people. In the more recent case, we see a 7.1 magnitude earthquake that killed at least 300 in Mexico City. So that's the ruins of a building in Mexico City. So obviously, it's a given fact that earthquakes are really dangerous.
Yeah, can you click on the present button on the top right of the slide?
Does it work? Oh yeah, let me do that.
Yeah, now it should be more clear.
Yeah.
So basically, the current problem is that earthquake survival trainings are not sufficient to educate the public with knowledge on what to do during an earthquake. And as FEMA has said here, that nearly 60% of American adults have not practiced what to do in a disaster, which will result in many casualties if it is to occur at any given time. And most of the learner engagement and the programs that they have to learn about these natural disasters are not really sufficient and doesn't educate the people enough and don't provide enough fun in the learning process.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, I think right now currently the most used methods either through video or through like paper, pamphlets kind of thing. So like obviously when you read a pamphlet, you don't absorb all the information as efficiently as say a simulation, which is what we attempted to do. So and then also there's a flaw in this in a lot of earthquake disaster training in which they put so much emphasis during an earthquake. Like for example, if I ask anybody, they'll probably tell me, earthquake. What do you do during an earthquake? You duck and cover. That's been pretty commonplace. However, if I ask somebody, what are 5 essential items that you should really prepare for in your earthquake kit? I don't think that's gonna. A lot of people will actually be able to tell me straight off the bat. So those are the two problems: just a consistent learner engagement and just a holistic view of natural disaster education that David and I designed this program to solve. And so here's a slide with a summary about simulation-based learning. This has already been utilized in colleges and medical programs to enhance education. Here's the two related. Dr. Fatima Latif in 2010 explained that the introduction and use of simulation-based learning can be very valuable in replacing and amplifying real experience in medical education. And Dr. Randolph H. Stredman utilized this randomized control trial to show that full-scale simulation-based learning is more effective than problem-based learning for teaching fourth-year medical school students regarding acute care assessment and management. And this is true because simulation-based learning have more consistent interactions or are generally more engaging. And since we generally learn better when we are entertained, when we are directly involved in the process, simulation-based learning have proved to be very effective in conveying a lot of information. And so
this is our solution to the problem. We designed Safety at Lifetime, basically an earthquake survival simulation that can be used to enhance traditional lessons due to its interaction nature with games and a more realistic setting included. And you will be playing as a first person.
Yeah, sorry about that. I should say interactive. I don't know why I didn't
interactive. Yeah, interaction.
Yeah. So, we'll just briefly go over this. This is not too important. Basically, this is the flow diagram to how our first lesson goes, our earthquake unit goes. So first you have a main menu screen, and then when you click it, it goes to the earthquake, in which it goes to lesson 1, lesson 2, and lesson 3 in this relative flow diagram. And so basically, lesson 1 is about earthquake, like what to do before an earthquake. Lesson 2 is what to do during an earthquake. And lesson 3 is what to do after an earthquake. And so in this way, we present a holistic view of what to do throughout the earthquake natural disaster training. as well as and then we have quizzes at the end. We'll explain this in further detail in the later slides, but basically we'll have quizzes to test each other's understanding, and then of each quiz, it transfers you to the next lesson. So this is just a basic general overview of how we intended this lesson or this simulation to work. So here's here's just how the lesson works in greater detail. So here's the 3 video lessons which David filmed using Loom. And so these lessons contain just the spoken overview, just like any earthquake survival training lesson. It contains the overview of what to do before, during, or after earthquake. This is just an example of what lesson 1 looked like in the interface. And so after watching the lesson, it's automatically gonna trigger this scene. So these are cabinet scenes. These are not the entire scene. Obviously, every one of these scenes is an interactive simulation to see what you do. Basically, cabinet scene 1 does you can pick up the bag, you can pick up the phone, you can pick up the flashlight scene here. And so this basically just trains the person on what to do, what's items you should pick up during an earthquake, before an earthquake. Cabinet scene 2 is a simulation of duck and cover. And cabinet scene 3 is what to do after earthquake. So calling the local authorities for evacuating to a safe area. And how these scenes function within itself is that we designed this game purely through Unity. And so we have this sequence of events. So at first you have this time handler. It gives a countdown, and then after time expires, it triggers the next event, which is earthquake. And then it triggers the next event text, which the text will pop up and then pick up handler, spawns an object. As you can see, it spawns this green object under the table, in which people pick up. After picking up, it spawns another earthquake event, and then some text. And after all of this event goes through, it transfers you to the next scene, which will be quiz 2. So here's how it works. Here's a text handler. You can see after the text is displayed, after it's been triggered by an event. This is text handler 2, so I'm just jumping straight into it. After text handler 2, it triggers an event. It triggers a time event. And so you can see now this event is triggered. After it triggers the event, after this event is triggered, and it gives a countdown. It gives a 5-second countdown, and after that, it loads the next scene. And so here's how basically we did it. And so load next scene loads the scene called, which is here, as we see. And yeah, David will explain a small portion of the code.
Yeah, in addition to Jack explaining the scenes, all the scenes were made in Unity, a place where you can design games and code games all together and putting events together. And we got most of the assets in here. As you can see, that medical package and the trees in the background, and even the house design, we got them all from thanks to the Unity asset store. And we basically moved it around and made it more realistic in a home setting. So it could be more applying to like the real world situation if an earthquake were to happen. Yeah, and let's go to the code. So this code is basically a small part of the big thing. There's a lot of code in here involved, but since we don't have too much time, I'm just going to explain the small portion of the code, which is the quiz code. And this is basically made on C# and Unity, where if the user gets correct 5, bigger or more than 5, then they move on to the next scene. And every time you get one correct, it will go forward plus 1 point. And if you get one incorrect, it will not add a point for you. So once you reach 5 points, it will load the next scene, which would be either the next question or the next simulation, which is included in the program. And this goes for all 3 lessons.
In each lesson, we essentially, this is generally how every scene flows or every simulation flows. We spawn an object. In every one of these, we spawn an object, and then picking up the object or coming into contact with it basically accounts for like that object as being picked up. And after it's been picked up, it'll trigger the next scene after all the objects are being picked up. And so you can see here, we have this green ball to indicate where you should be evacuating to. We have this medical first aid kit. That indicates you should call the police. In the previous scenes, we have these backpack, the phone, flashlight you can pick up. In the scene 2, you have this green ball under the desk to indicate where you should be going. And so, yeah, as I said before, how each of these simulations function is that you have to pick up all the collectibles. And after you pick up the collectibles, it transfers you to the next scene. And so we did a small scale user experiment, but this is by no way as comprehensive, but we just try to see if our thing was really effective at teaching people earthquake preparedness. And so what we had is we had 2 groups of 10 people with similar education backgrounds with the same set of questions. So we split these 2 groups of people up and then the first group study using only magazines. So we gave them a 10-minute period for them to all this material involved in earthquake survival using magazines. And then for the blue group, we gave them safety lifetime, which is the simulation we designed to study for the earthquake. And we can see that when given this test, the safety lifetime group performed significantly better, considering this is only a question test. They performed on average about they got 1 more question right on average than the magazines. Yeah. David will explain the future goals and plans we have for this.
And yeah, to move forward for the program, I think we can expand it by creating a central website which could have more disaster education, not just on earthquakes. Since this is our first prototype, there are a lot of things happening in the world right now, such as the pandemic, natural disasters like Cali forest fires and everything. And I'm sure that everywhere in the country, there's natural disasters happening. So if we can educate more people and creating more programs to run, not just earthquake, I think we can expand it pretty well. And there will also be modern natural disasters, modern world natural disasters and news and updates on the website as well. And different outcomes and consequences for failing if we can add to the program. We can definitely enhance the program more, adding better graphics and even more events to enhance the learners' learning ability.
And yeah, so if you are interested, or if you want to have any suggestions, again, we are schoolers doing this, so we welcome any from you guys. Probably far more this. And if you have any suggestions, feel free to contact us using these emails. And our app is also on App Store if you wanted to check it out. But again, yeah. Thanks. That's it for our presentation.